Hey Frag fam, what is going on? I hope you guys are all doing well today. Elliot here and welcome back to the Fragrance Well. So just recently, I did a video entitled True Like Fragrances. I referenced Fragrantica's little rating scale that they give everybody where if you give it 4 out of 5 stars, it's basically a like. I like the fragrance. If you give it 5, that means you love the fragrance. It's a 5 out of 5. We're going to do the 5 out of 5 the love fragrances in this video. So I did the same thing I did there. I just picked 10 random ones. I got plenty of fragrances in that cabinet that I do consider as loves, or if I were going to rank them on Fragrantica, I would give them a rating of 5 or the love rating, whatever it goes, you get the point. So yeah, these are 10 random ones. I did leave off some of the more obvious ones for my normal viewers like Ganymede and Hasselblad. I left those 2 off. I talk about those a lot already. I decided to just focus on some other fragrances that I do consider true loves in my cabinet. And I will, of course, tell you guys why, but there's kind of a common theme between a lot of these fragrances as to why they are loves for me. Of course, we'll get into all that as we get into the video, so let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you do like the content, please hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. And remember, I do have links to these fragrances listed in the description below. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're going to kick it off with this fragrance from Amouage. It is King Blue. Amouage, King Blue. Yes, this fragrance is an absolute love for me. And the reason I love it is, frankly, I simply remember the reaction I had to it when I first smelled it when it first came out. What was that, 2-3 years ago? Whenever it was. Doesn't matter. Listen, when I tested it then, there was no warming up period to it. For me with this fragrance, I instantly loved it. My wife even loved it, which was very surprising. I did not think she would really accept a fragrance like this. But what is the scent, by the way? Well, first of all, it's a very oud forward fragrance. It uses a Assam oud. The oud in here you could perceive as being a little bit barnyard, a little bit earthy, kind of hay-like, not really fecal, but it is a little bit strong. And not everybody's going to be okay with that. There's also some kind of tart, fruity like notes in here. I think there's some black currant or something of that nature in here. It's relatively woody and ambery. Outside of that, great sandalwood patchouli combination to kind of make up some of the base of this fragrance, which is one of my favorite like base note combinations, patchouli and sandalwood. I got a number of fragrances that use that combination in their own way. Matter of fact, I think there's another one on this list that also does it. But yeah, ambery, woody, and a little bit leathery too. I love the way this comes together. To me, it kind of smells like a very non-westernized oud forward blue fragrance. It smells like you can use it for anything, at least it does to me. Not everybody's gonna perceive it that way, so I fully understand that, but for me, that is how it comes across. And even just smelling it right now, I just remember that moment when I first got this fragrance to my nose and actually tested it on skin. And I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get it because it's an expensive fragrance, but I'm going to get it when I see it for a price that I like. Here we go. So once again, from Amouage, this is King Blue. All right, guys, next fragrance is coming from Chanel. This is Le Lion de Chanel. Le Lion de Chanel from Chanel. Exclusives collection, is that what this is called? I need to learn that stuff. I really gotta stop slacking on that. Anyway, same thing with King Blue, to be honest with you guys. I remember when I first got my nose on this. Kind of a bittersweet moment, actually, when I first got my nose on this. I smelled it at a Saks store, and if I'm being completely honest, the staff that was there was being a little, you know how sometimes staffers can be. Like, they only wanted me to smell only 3 fragrances. They were like, oh, your nose can't handle more. And I'm like, really? Let me smell what the heck I want to smell. You got the fragrances out. But anyway, that's when I first got my nose on this. I actually tested it on skin too, and immediately knew at some point I'm going to pick up Le Lion. Here it is. This is a very dark ambery fragrance. Uses quite a bit of labdanum as the forward note in the amber accord in here. So it kind of has this spicy, warm feel to it. Also uses the sandalwood patchouli kind of combination. Doesn't smell exactly like it does in King Blue, but it has the same effect. It just creates this very nice warm woodiness that I'm really a fan of. There is a little bit of vanilla in here to kind of counter some of the spice and I guess earthiness that is in this scent. And it's not going to be for everyone. Some people perceive this to be a little bit a little bit animalic. I don't know. I don't really get that. I don't really get the sweaty nature from it. But I think it's just maybe that the fragrance is, if you think about amber fragrances, it's just a little bit more of that, you know, a little bit more of a punch to it than your typical amber scent. But hey, I am here for it. I love this stuff. And again, even though the overall experience wasn't that great due to the staff that was at this particular Chanel counter, experiencing this fragrance for that first time, and now that I have it, it just hasn't gotten old. So maybe if it gets old, maybe it'll fall to a like, but so far that just hasn't happened. And overall, I just love the scent composition. So once again, from Chanel, this is Le Lion de Chanel. All right, guys, next one's going to be coming from Roja Parfums. This is Burlington 1819. Roja Parfums, Burlington 1819. All right, so I know there's a lot of fans of this fragrance. I imagine it's a love for a lot of people, but there's also a lot of people that don't really get what the big deal is with the scent, and I get it. I think there's a clear reason as to why. But what is the scent overall? Grapefruit-like citrus profile, this spice profile of cumin and cinnamon. That cumin is going to be the X factor for a lot of people. And then it's just this combination of like woods and earthy notes, and maybe some ambery notes lightly in there. It's kind of clean, masculine, kind of smells like a daily use scent, business oriented, maybe good for warm weather in general, but not like the middle of summer. That's the best way I like to describe the scent. For me, the thing I love about this fragrance, because it wasn't a first sniff kind of thing. I smelled this fragrance kind of in passing. I knew that I liked it, but honestly, when I bought this, it was kind of a half blind buy. I didn't have the full picture of what this fragrance was. I just knew that I at least liked it. So I figured at worst, it would be a nice like, but it became a love as I got more familiar with it. But it's that cinnamon and cumin combination in this fragrance. That's the thing that I love about it, because I think it transforms the cumin into a spice profile that's a little bit more palatable for more people without just fully removing some of that funk you get from cumin. Now, I like the smell of cumin. I like to eat cumin. I like it on foods, but it does smell sweaty. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be a turnoff for a lot of people, but I appreciate how this fragrance presents it in a way that I think more people can appreciate. That's my favorite thing about this fragrance. And I also love that grapefruit-like citrus that this fragrance has that kind of blends with that masterfully. It also has, I don't know if there's blood orange in here, but it also kind of has that darker, heavier citrus profile as well, but it's very much tart also. So once again, from Roja Parfums, this is Burlington 1819. All right, we're moving on to one from Mason Francis Kirkjohn. This is Aqua Media Cologne Forte. Mason Francis Kirkjohn, Aqua Media Cologne Forte. Didn't I do like a top 20 summertime or spring list, something like that? And this fragrance was number one. I can't remember what the list was, but I remember this actually won out out of all the list I put together that was ranked at that time. But yeah, this fragrance here, it's that. Also, it is the first experience I had when this fragrance first came out. I was able to test it actually before it was officially released because they had samples at my local Bloomingdale's. So I tested it that day. And first of all, the lime citrus is what drew me into this fragrance. It was a great lime citrus experience that I remember. And also just the way the matcha tea came together in this scent. So I just simply love the combination, as well as I had a really good first experience with it that has not gotten old so far. So yes, lime-like citrus, matcha tea, fennel, adding this really kind of refreshing green character to the scent, a lot of musk. And as the fragrance has macerated over time, I've had this for a while now, it's gotten a little bit sweeter, not a whole lot, just a little bit sweeter, maybe not quite as tart, maybe not quite as green as the fragrance was when I first got it. So yeah, I just simply love the composition of this scent. I love wearing it. And again, this is another one where the first experience with the fragrance was so positive that instantly just kind of makes it a love for me. And that feeling I get when I smell the fragrance and it takes me back to that moment, it hasn't gotten old yet. There's some fragrances I have where that has happened and they eventually fall to likes. Matter of fact, that's what happened with Naxos. When I first smelled it, I loved it, but it just doesn't have that effect on me anymore. But anyway, yeah, this fragrance still does. So it's an absolute love for me. Once again, from Mason Francis Kirkjohn, this is Aqua Media Cologne Forte. All right, guys, next fragrance is going to be coming from Chris Collins. This is African Rooibos. Chris Collins, African Rooibos. So I guess we're moving on to another tea scent here. but a completely different type of tea. This one here is a spicy, dry, woody tea scent. African Rooibos, which is a tea from South Africa, kind of has this fruity, earthy, woody smell, even maybe cedar-like characteristics to it. That's just a tea by itself. I do have the tea here. I drink it. I really do enjoy drinking the tea. And this fragrance here is meant to kind of just represent that, and I think it's a knockout for it. Kind of similar thing. I got a sample pack of Chris Collins fragrances in. Kind of knew African Rooibos was one of their best-selling fragrances. As soon as I sampled it, I was like, yeah, that's going to be my first one from the house too. So far, it's still the only one from the house. They got other ones I want to add, but we'll get to it. But yeah, this fragrance, spicy, dry, and woody, with a really nice representation of the Rooibos tea and just a dash of some sweet notes in there to kind of counter it. This one I do see as like a fall time or even springtime tea fragrance. A lot of times we put tea fragrances into that spring and summer category. I certainly do with Aqua Media Cologne Forte, but this one here is actually good for the cooler months in general, or at least the early cooler months. But yeah, I love this one just simply because it is masterfully done, and because I am familiar with Rooibos tea, and this fragrance accurately represents that, or does a good artistic representation of that, just makes me love it even more. So once again, from Chris Collins, this is African Rooibos. All right, guys, next one's going to be coming from Creed. This is Silver Mountain Water. Creed Silver Mountain Water. All right, I can't remember my first experience smelling this fragrance, but I guess I liked it enough to want to revisit it if I didn't like it the first time I smelled it. Let's just say that eventually this became a fragrance I really wanted in my collection, but I was waiting for, let's just say, a better price for it. I think at the time I was kind of looking. I couldn't really find this for much less than $300, but I was like, I know I can get this sub $250. It eventually popped up on Aura Fragrance, which is a fragrance site I shop at often. It is listed in the description below. Unfortunately, they do sell out of their stuff very, very often, so their stock is not that great, but they have excellent deals because it's wholesale pricing. But I was able to get this from there, and this is another tea fragrance. Man, 3 tea fragrances in a row. I did not do that intentionally. Another tea fragrance, more so back into the warm weather category. This one has this icy alpine skiing like characteristic to it. Very ozonic, a little bit tart, does make good use of galbanum in here, so that gives it a very bitter green smell, but the way it's used in here with the fresher ozonic notes that add that cooling effect that this fragrance has, it's a little bit cleaner than I would say it is in some other fragrances that use galbanum, but it's very much here, and I love galbanum fragrances. And also very heavy on the musk with this kind of like light woodiness to it as well. I love the smell of this stuff. I love to wear it in the heat. I love how it pops off my skin in the heat. So with this one, maybe not so much a first experience love that hasn't waned, more so just a fragrance that I just love the way it works and love how it smells on my skin and love for what I use it for, which is typically warm weather usage. So once again, from Creed, this one here is Silver Mountain Water. All right, guys, next one's going to be coming from Hermes. This is Terre de Hermes Eau Givrée. Hermes's Terre de Hermes Eau Givrée. You know what? I don't even have to go into super amount of detail with this scent and why I love it. First of all, it's a super simple fragrance that smells like grapefruit juice. Uses a note of citron, which I actually got to try at a fragrance event that had nothing to do with this scent, but I got to try citron. Yeah, basically smells like a cross. Tastes like a cross between lemon and grapefruit. Kind of looks like a lemon too, but it's definitely a cousin of grapefruit. But very well represented in this fragrance. A lot of juniper in here, adding to the coolness effect, so that's why it smells like icy grapefruit juice. A little bit of a dash of like some peppery notes, some clean floral woody vetiver in here way in the background. Vetiver is not meant to be the highlight of this scent like it is in a lot of the other iterations of Terre de Hermes fragrances. But this scent is just simply awesome. Frankly, I just love the citrus of this. I love the very photorealistic representation of citrus in this fragrance. Citron / grapefruit, whatever you want to call it. It smells amazing in this fragrance. And it is a great summertime wear. It's a simple scent that does what it does very, very well. So once again, from Hermes, this is Terre de Hermes Eau Givrée. All right, guys, we got one from Xerjoff, and this one here is going to be Tony Iommi Deified. Xerjoff's Tony Iommi Deified. So this one here we're kind of back to that theme that's been synonymous with a lot of these fragrances. It was the first sniff. I first smelled this. Did I smell this at a store? I might have smelled it at a store, but it was kind of in passing. I didn't get the full picture. And of course, my nose was probably a little fatigued from smelling other stuff, but I did get a sample of it. I sampled it right here in my house. And I just remember instantly loving this scent. I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta have that. This is fruity, leather, and patchouli. It's a leather patchouli fragrance for the most part. Does have this fruity characteristic to it. Also, I think there's some rose in here. So fruity, leather, patchouli, rose. I mean, you could say there's some amberiness, very dark amber, not overly sweet. Definitely some sweet notes in this fragrance, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I love the leather, patchouli, rose combination that this fragrance has. Simple as that. The way it's comprised, it's just intoxicating to me. I can't get enough of it. I couldn't get enough of it. That night I got the sample and sprayed it on my skin. So it takes me back to that moment. And to be perfectly honest, fragrance is relatively new to my collection. I guess at this point I've had this for, 7 months? So it's still relatively new. I haven't worn it a ton since it has warmed up. I did wear it one evening not too long ago, but I definitely would consider this a fragrance I would wear when it is cooler. It's very, very rich, so it's not going to be a heavy rotation fragrance for me here in these warmer months, especially while the humidity is high. But all I know is I love this scent DNA. It's simple as that, and my first impression of it was mind-blowing. So naturally, that typically means it's a fragrance that I love. So once again, from Xerjoff, this is Tony Iommi Deified. All right, next one's going to be coming from Arabian Oud. This is Royal Oud. Arabian Oud, Royal Oud. You know, we got another simple scent here. You know, sometimes the simplest fragrances can be your favorites or be the most awesome. This is literally just simply oud and rose and a little bit of musk to kind of tie them together. Cambodian oud. Cambodian oud I often experience as being a little bit oily, but also rather woody. Can be a little funky when you spray it on heavily, but it's mostly woody and a little bit oily and just has that oriental luxurious smell to it. Rose in this, kind of fruity, a touch lemony, a little bit green as well. I kind of see it as like this combination, a good combination of many of the elements you can get from rose. And again, the musk, I think it's just there to tie the two together and maybe soften the blow a little bit from that Cambodian oud. I love the way this smells. It smells luxurious, and this one also has that first experience tied to it in terms of why I love it. When I first experienced this fragrance, I had learned about it from Equality Fragrances at the time. At the time, we didn't have an Arabian Oud boutique here, but I was in Philadelphia. They do have one. I went and checked this out before my flight home. Got my nose on it and was so blown away and was thinking to myself, you know, this fragrance literally just made me think of Oud Satin Mood. No offense to Oud Satin Mood, but it made me think of Oud Satin Mood in a completely different way. At that time, I still consider that to be like my best oud rose combination. Even though it does have some other features to it, that was one of my best ones until I smelled this. It immediately made me think like, yeah, that one is not in the same level, not in the same league as a fragrance like this. So this is by far my highest quality oud rose fragrance, and it's definitely one of my favorites as a result. So once again, from Arabian Oud, this is Royal Oud. All right, guys, so we got our last fragrance here. It's coming from Algabra, and this is Jamaican Tobacco. Algabra, Jamaican Tobacco. Okay, now, the story with this fragrance is different from most of the fragrances I've talked about in this video. Why? I did not love this when I first got my nose on this. Matter of fact, I'm sure I've told the story before, but I'm going to tell it again. I had bought maybe like 5 or 6 samples from, it was either Scent Split or Lucky Scent or Twisted Lily, something like that. So I had gotten in these 5 samples, and that was by far the worst sampling haul I had ever had, where a number of the fragrances I just did not care for. So this scent, it's not that I didn't like it. As soon as you smell this, if you're familiar with red tobacco, you're going to think it's just another red tobacco. So I kind of wrote it off. I kind of just put it to the side. I'm like, I don't want another, red tobacco. So I just put it to the side, but I revisited it maybe 6 months later or something like that, because I kept the sample and tried it on skin and immediately started to notice that this is a similar style to a red tobacco, but it's not red tobacco. In fact, it is far superior and frankly has some elements that red tobacco does not have. So this scent here, it's spicy, slightly sweet tobacco. It kind of has this red fruit, kind of red berry quality to it. The notes actually got released not too long ago. Apparently none of that's in there, or at least it's not listed, but that is just how I experience it. So I'm gonna stick with that in terms of my breakdown of it. Definitely some cinnamon like spice in here. Could be some nutmeg as well. There's some fresh characteristics to the scent. Also tobacco, not overly smoky, not overly dirty, relatively clean. There's definitely some amber like qualities to the scent as well. It has a very similar lane to red tobacco, but it definitely walks its own path, and the quality is just up here compared to what it is for for red tobacco. So I separate the two at this point. The more I wear it, the more it kind of separates itself from red tobacco. And honestly, that's why I love the scent. First of all, it smells freaking amazing. It's my favorite tobacco fragrance to this point. And also the fact that it is separating itself and proving itself to be something different than what I initially thought it was. I actually love it for that. So at this time, Jamaican Tobacco is a love for me. So once again, from Algarbra Parfums, this is Jamaican Tobacco. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you would like to, down in the comments below, put some fragrances that you absolutely love in your fragrance collection. You can list one, you can list a bunch of them, doesn't matter. But I know all of you guys have got fragrances that you love, because if you don't, what are you doing this hobby for? Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you all. Please remember to be well and smell well. And I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.